We are here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bring news just for you. It's Tuesday, December 3rd here in Seoul. I'm Song Yujin and this is News Generation. Today we're joined by Cheska Dain-hong.
Happy Tuesday and happy December, everyone!
Happy Tuesday, happy December! And Yoon Sang-yeol.
Happy December.
Happy December. Now both are here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. So it's Tuesday, time to explore the latest trends in Korean culture. Let's take a look at the screen to find out more on today's topic.
From YOLO to Yono, we've covered our generation's spending habits on News Gen before, but it seems like there's always something new coming up. Today, we're going to talk about a new consumption trend among our generation.
So we're talking about consumption trends among our generation today because lately a spending limit challenge has been trending among young people. So Cheska, can you tell us a bit more about what it is?
And I loved the opening statement.
Really?
From YOLO to Yono.
Thank you.
I think this topic is quite interesting, especially in Korean. It's called 자린고비 challenge, and 자린고비 basically means extreme frugality.
Right.
And this is a huge shift from YOLO to now people are saying yo, no.
Yo, no.
Yo, no. And when something trends, where do we see it? Obviously on social media. So apparently the quote-unquote challenge is to spend about 350,000 won, which is $250 US, on a monthly basis.
Wow.
I personally don't think the amount is what's important, but rather it's the fact that they're actually limiting their budget and cutting down everything to the bare minimum. Now, living with their parents to save on rent, even bringing like coffee in their tumblers from home, and even risking eating with your boss to save on your lunch money, and using coupons and points and etc. Yeah.
Wow, I mean 350,000 Korean
I
won,
saw your face, yeah.
$250. Well, I think that sticking to this limit for me is unrealistic, even if I live with my parents. So I want to ask you guys, based on your spending habits, do you think this is realistic for you?
Apparently, this was the minimum, very bare minimum amount that was set on a news article that can be spent on a monthly basis. And this was actually based on a finance person in her 20s who lives with her parents to save up. And I actually saw the categories, and the spending actually included food, fashion, beauty, living supplies, and even a very small amount set aside for like gift and activities. And I looked at the chart, and I was actually very impressed. But I honestly think I could do it.
You can do
I
it.
could. But the only downside is, Sang-yeok knows this, when you're living alone, you do have to spend a bit more on other areas such as food and supplies because you're not sharing with your parents. So if you're living with somebody else, somebody might restock your fridge, so you would have to spend less. But for us, everything we buy is the only thing we have.
Right.
So maybe a little bit more, but I think I can manage, yeah.
Well, a big respect, Cheska.
Big
Big respect. Then what about you, Sang? Do you think this is possible for you?
Well, not for me.
Not for you.
I'm the person who works for a month and spends all the salary for a month, and then works for a month over and over again. Yeah, but I can actually relate to why other young people are so obsessed with saving their budget, because the inflation has gone up way beyond the limit these days, and also these kind of inflation cannot be handled easily with your salary, especially if you have just started to work in a company. So the price for your lunch already exceeds 10,000 won. That is about $8. So the high interest rate also discourages young people from actually buying houses or getting loans. So instead of going YOLO, like you mentioned, young people are now tightening their budget to save more money.
Right, and going, yo, no. And this is not only this challenge that we're seeing, there are other saving or spending trends among our generation that we're seeing recently. So could you introduce some of the trends or habits that you'd like to share?
Yeah, so not only the young people actually save the money for themselves, but actually they're sharing their habits online on social media with others. So MZers are like sharing their know-how and tips on saving the budget by sharing the videos on their Instagram feeds to portray on how to live only with cash or how to make delicious lunchboxes to save the cost for lunch meals. So this has even gone extreme with a social trend referred to as loud budgeting, which means sharing the habit of saving with others, and even encouraging others to actually jump onto the bandwagon and to join them on saving the cost.
So it's kind of becoming like a more community, a big challenge, not only involving individuals, but like our generation or even a bigger group. And what's really interesting is that we kind of mentioned this earlier, from going YOLO or Yono, Yono, is how these trends, including this challenge, are all about saving money or being frugal, as both of you guys mentioned. And it's the exact opposite of what we used to see with flexing, which we talked about on Newsden before, which is the trend of extravagant spending to showcase wealth or a carefree attitude. So, Cheska, what do you think has caused this shift?
I think you pointed it out quite accurately. That's why I find this trend to be quite fascinating, to be honest. And I personally think it is so much better than the flexing culture that we have had and the showcasing of, as you mentioned, the extravagant purchases, which is one of the types of videos that people actually do. And I think young people can get very easily influenced by them. And social media is perfectly made trap to display that side of life. But I think people are actually starting to realize that this was an actual interview in the article, that those facades of superficial wealth could not actually be maintained in the kind of economy that we live now. So now many of the MZers are saving up to invest or even create funds to actually do what they really want to do.
So they're thinking more in long term for their future. And Cheska, you also mentioned this, and Sang-hyuk, you also mentioned this in your previous answers, but young people are actually sharing their frugal lifestyles online, which is also once again very different from the past when social media was filled with posts showing off luxury purchases like cars and luxury bags. So I want to also ask your opinion on why this change has happened.
Yeah, because I was also really surprised of this quick shift into this new trend.
Very quick.
Yeah, because a few years ago, if I remember correctly, people were running after Chanel bags, and also
They were standing in a line.
Yeah, right. And they were also like posting their Instagram feeds with their well-manipulated luxurious life. But this has completely turned upside down these days. And now the youth are actually sharing their knowledge and tips on how to save the budget with others. And I think these kind of postings are not actually they don't actually feel it embarrassing, or they don't believe that this is overly stingy. Rather, they feel proud that they can save the cost of their budgets. And by posting these kind of feeds online, I think they can also feel a sense of bond with others, so that they can actually relate with the people that are similar to them. And they can also have this mutual relations and also feel rewarded if they post how much they save for this month and feel some sort of accomplishments, which is understandable.
Right. So from online challenges and also to sharing your frugality, your frugal lifestyle online, this focus on extreme saving has also led to more creative ways to save money. So are there any other additional examples that you'd like to share?
Just to add on to what Sang-hyuk said, I think a lot of MZers feel the sense of empowerment too. We talked about here on the life of 가tseng, which is the combination of the word gat and then seng, which means life. So when they are able to share some of their testimonials with the group, it's not something that they shy away from, but it's actually something they're proud of, and they're actually making or creating their own lives. So one of the simplest ways that they can do that is by having these group chat rooms. So they post open chat room, share their budget, even spending, and they even share their list of commodities that they bought and encourage each other. And even banks are going out of their ways to create so many interesting savings accounts that are super easy to create and access. I mean, I created one, and all you need to do is just a few clicks, and then boom, you have a saving account for like a month or for a year. And one of the things that I actually found very interesting was, I think, to reflect the lifestyle of our generation, these savings account and banks are creating it like a game. So
we love games.
We love games, and they're so cute. So if you put a certain amount of money, it's like a quest. You get another item. Like I think there was one. So taringobi actually is a type of fish, right? It's a fish dish. So when you invest more money, it gives you different displays of like fish. On your plate. So I think they're really targeting clients that are exclusively in their 20s and 30s to make it even more fun and attractive for people to save more. Yeah.
I mean, this is really different from the past, because in the past, when we wanted to save money, it was like writing down on a notebook how much you used, or just saving your money on the bank account.
Pasting receipts like on a piece of paper,
But they've definitely gotten more creative, more fun, such as the cute fish character that you mentioned. So, Sang-young, are there any other ways that young people are saving creatively?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, we're seeing a different trend. So in the past, the time span for the bank savings was like more than 10 years. But these days, major banks are releasing special savings products with shorter time span of maturity, and also the young people can deposit the money in a small amount. And I think it reflects the current trend where the young people really wants to like gain some kind of accomplishments within a really short amount of time, but at the same time feel rewarded as they save a penny or dollar or two like for a month or 2 months. And so this is also understandable because many people are actually having difficulties in economic budgets these days. And also, as I was doing research for this, I really found another interesting, apart from using characters.
Please share.
Okay, so idle bias savings. So I think this resonates with the K-pop culture. So whenever your idol, your favorite idol is involved into something, for example, if your band group releases a new song, then you deposit a small amount of money in the bank account.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I don't know how that works, but
That's very interesting.
So if your band only makes a comeback in every 4 years,
Then you make the deposit only once in 4
my
years.
savings account only worth like once 4 years.
yeah, I guess so. So you have to wish that your idol groups makes comeback.
Yeah,
Right.
makes comes like once a month, once a month. And you mentioned how young people are now depositing a small amount of money for a short amount of time because that kind of gives them a sense of accomplishment. I think that I'm the perfect example because
really?
last year I used to deposit like 1/5 of my monthly income, and then I received that money earlier this year, and I feel great. I felt like a great sense of accomplishment.
Did you do something with that money?
I just put it back to another savings account to make it bigger. So it's gonna keep on getting
That's
bigger.
actually a good way to do so, because if the time span is too long, it
Yeah.
really makes you feel tired.
Right.
That's true.
So that is my way of saving money. What about you?
I have a housing subscription savings, so which is you put the money in for potentially, knock on wood, being able to get into the lottery-based system of the subscription here in South Korea. The other thing is I really want to, but because when I live alone and I work on myself on freelance, I had some business expenses that I needed to. But the best one that worked for me is actually using a check card, so debit card. And what I used to do way back when I was just starting out in society is I would only put 50,000 won in check card. That's about only $40.
Right.
And it was like a mind trick that I used, because when I run out of it, I would have to transfer the money, right? So it was extra. I was making it difficult to spend money. And then also having to check each time how much I was putting into it. And also I try to set a fixed amount for monthly spending. But like I said, I haven't been so keen on it since I had to purchase some other stuff, but only use one credit card for mileage purposes. So making sure that my credit card and my check card actually has benefits that I can use, I think is one of the ways that I try to save.
That's quite a useful advice
Yes.
for our viewers.
Yeah.
What about you, Sang-young?
Well, just like Chaska, I also have the housing subscription accounts for the future plans, but I tend to go for the jackpot. So I do investments in stocks.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for the stock market, it has been showing a downward trend, so I kind of failed at the moment. But now, luckily, the Bitcoin has gained
Right.
uptick these days, so I think it's a good news for me. But anyhow, these kind of stock markets or Bitcoins are not a long-lasting investment plan. They could always somehow get destroyed or fall down. So I really I'm currently looking for something that is stable, like a pension system that the country provides. And of course, I try to limit my budget every month to a certain level. But of course, when there are special occasions like wedding ceremonies, or if I have to buy birthday gifts, I have no choice but to overspend. So currently, I'm trying to control my budgets as much as possible.
Right, so we in the studio are all into saving, I guess. And let's talk a bit more about the perception of saving or being frugal before we move on, because in the past, being overly frugal was often seen negatively. 자린고비, Jessica kind of mentioned this term with terms like stingy or penny pincher used to describe it. So what are your thoughts on this?
I think in our generation, there are wide spectrum of people when it comes to money that I don't think the flexing culture is going to go away. There are social media, and I think people are still going to try to showcase or try to shop in ways that are more for display rather than for actual substance. However, MZers are known to be very finance savvy. As Sang-yeol is one of the great examples, but I know a lot of my friends who are doing stock options, who are studying to invest.
Right.
They take online courses on how to do real estate. So one of the reasons I think that the people are doing this finance challenge in our episode isn't really just to save like a few penny here and a few penny there. It's really to create a fund for them to either invest or to create a larger fund for their future well-beings. So in that case, I think it goes more than just frugality. I think it's trying to be a little bit more proactive in terms of preparing for the future.
Yeah, planning out for your future.
Exactly. Yeah.
What's your opinion on this?
Well,
Sang-yeol?
just to add on to what Cheska mentioned, she really made a good point because I think it's not being stingy or anything, but it's actually people having a huge interest in managing their financial budgets. And I think this is a good sign actually, because I necessarily think that young people should learn these kind of financial management from their middle school or high school,
Yeah, I
because
agree.
these things are closely related to our lives instead of math or English or history or whatever. But anyway, the financial management itself is really crucial for our lives. So whatever the way, I think the best way is to keep the middle ground. So rather than overspending or underspending, it's really important to maintain a stable amount of budget following the current trend and the logic of the economy.
Right, so definitely keeping a balance does seem important. Now, we mostly talked about ourselves, so we're now going to listen to our viewers. We also asked them if they are saving money and why. Let's take a look at some of their answers. If we look at the comments, RKZLTV, I'm saving up for my future in general. MSC, dentist glasses emergency fund. Benny D97 says, my family uses it for school tuition fees since my siblings are still in college, and groceries for daily needs. So we've taken a look at our viewers' comments as well. To find out more about what's behind these spending habits among our generation of saving, we're going to invite an expert to our talks after a short break.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search our channel Arirang News. Click Community and leave a comment down below. Make a new type of news with us.
Today we're joined by Shim Myung-gyu, Associate Professor of Economics at Yonsei University in Seoul. Welcome, Professor Shim, to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So, Professor, what do you think is driving young people to save money so intensely, as we mentioned in our discussion earlier?
Maybe there are several reasons why young people want to save more, but I think there are two main reasons behind this sin. First, as anyone can easily infer, housing price has skyrocketed over time, especially in Korea. According to recent data, price-to-income ratio in Seoul is greater than 11, which means that a household that earns 80 million won as a yearly household income should save more than 11 years without any consumption to buy a house. For comparison, let me give you the number that we saw 10 years ago. It was 7.5. So it is natural that young people who need a house to live in should save more than before, given that the interest rate has become so high after the COVID-19 crisis, because it is not that easy to make a loan. And also, the second reason is that the young people expect that they cannot rely on national pension system, given that the fertility rate in Korea has become extremely low. So they should insure against the negative income shock after their retirement, which makes them to save more than before.
Professor, this Yono lifestyle is just one of the many trends of our generation. So why do you think our generation has this wide spectrum of spending habits, from people who are going all out to people who are trying to save as much as they can?
Yeah, to me, the most important reason behind this diverse pattern is that the economic environment has changed a lot, especially during the last decade. Before 2021, what we experienced was a very extremely low interest environment, so that we don't have that many incentives to save because it does not give any additional profit. So we want to consume more. But after 2022, we observed the high inflation rate, and the Fed or any central banks increased interest a lot. So it increased the cost, it increased the benefit of saving. So people try to save more. And the recession that Korean economy has experienced for the last several years has also impacted the young people in particular a lot, because the labor market has tightened, especially for them. So they need to lower their consumption but increase saving.
Okay, so Professor, just like you mentioned, I think we are seeing a repetitive trends that are keep changing. So a few years ago, we saw low interest rates, and now high interest rates are making young people to actually save their budgets. Now, from your perspective, do you anticipate another new spending trend to emerge soon?
What I expect is that the current trend, which seems to be called to be Yono, you only need once, trend can be prolonged for a relatively long time. The first reason behind this is that, as I pointed out earlier, life after retirement is not that guaranteed with this extremely low fertility rate. So young people should save more to prepare for their future. The second reason is that because of the president re-elect in the US, what he and his government will do is to conduct policies that may push the inflation rate up again, which makes the purchasing power of the young people and also the other people to be low, because high inflation makes the purchasing power to be low. So what I expect is that the current trend, which emphasize saving rather than consuming now, can be prolonged than expected.
All right, we'll have to see. All right, Professor Shim, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, so today we've taken a look at the spending and saving habits among young people. Hoped our discussion today helped you learn more about our generation. And that's all the time we have for today, but NewsGen will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time. Special thanks today to Cheska Daino.
Pleasure always mine. Thank you.
Thank you. And Im Sang-yeop.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. We are News Generation.